you. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our February meeting. And so I would ask Ms. Carlin to please call roll.
Sure. Chairperson Phil Gomez,
Present.
Vice Chair Penn,
Hold on a second. I'm
Vice
sorry,
Chair
Ms.
Penn,
Carlin.
Vice Chair Penn, I think you're on mute.
okay.
And Vice Chair Penn, if you were trying to unmute, I think you might have inadvertently turned your camera off instead, because we don't see you anymore, but I think you're still on. Carlin, maybe we can circle back.
Yes, sure. Ms. Dark, she's present. Mr. Dara? Thought I saw him.
Yes. Mr. Jura? Can you hear us?
Hold on, Julia.
Mr. Jura?
He's waving, so I guess he's present as well. Mr. Fulton?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Scales? Ms. Williams? And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Oh, Carlin, can you circle back for Vice Chair Penn?
Ms. Penn, are you? There she is.
Present.
Thank you.
So sorry, I muted myself. So thank you, Carlin. So before we move to adopt the minutes from January, are there any comments or questions? All right, could someone move to adopt the minutes from January 2022?
Annette Wilson, I make a motion that we adopt the minutes from January 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Would someone please second the minutes?
I second it.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, do we need to call again to have everybody vote to adopt? Is that?
Yes, Chair Villa-Gomez, we have to do roll call votes throughout the meeting because we're virtual.
Okay. Chair Villa-Gomez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Penn?
Yes.
Ms. Dark? Mr. Dara? Mr. Fulton?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson? Ms. Johnson?
Ms. Joycelyn Johnson, can you hear us?
Okay. And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
I can now, yes. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So the minutes are adopted from January 2022. So I just have a few updates. Number one is the service learning project in the urban history class that I'm teaching, as well as my internships with the public history majors. And so I just want to note that things are going very well. So there are 33 students now. That's the final count for urban history, 33. None of them are history majors, but they're eager to work on our virtual history storyboard project. And then I have 7 of the history interns, and they're just so engaged already. As I've been teaching, especially the non-majors, sort of the basic how to do history, we also today then finally jumped into our first major evidence. And I think many of you probably read this and even participated in giving histories and photos, etc. But what we're all reading now across both classes this week and next week is the 1997 study that the city sponsored, and it was done by the preservation and planning consultant Langdon Oberman. And so the title is Historic and Architectural Resources of African American Neighborhoods in Northeastern Winston-Salem from 1900 to 1947. So I know many of you have probably helped with that. I believe a few of you mentioned you've read it again recently. I bring it up because many of the sites that we want to highlight eventually that are now gone, beautiful Black spaces that are now unfortunately parking lots, etc. They're mentioned in this study. Many of you might have even known this individual, and I think it would be helpful if you could share if you know anything about this study. But as teaching the students to read the notes so that we can look for evidence, going back to what's in our local newspapers, the Sanborn maps, and oral histories, I think it's a great place to start. And I can send the link out, the online PDF link, if you care to take a look at it. But that's one thing. And I just want to remind everyone that you are so welcome to come to any of the classes. Urban History meets Monday and Wednesday from 10:20 to 11:35. Those are our COVID hours right now at State. And then the history interns meet on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 9:30. Sometimes we go until 10 because they're so enthusiastic. So anytime any of you would want to come into a class, share your own history, we can record that, document it. Another thing that I can do, I'm working with Linda right now on this. She has a specific set of materials from a former professor and his wife. And so I'm hoping we can bring it into our archive and have the interns come and look at the material. Of course, you could just bring material and take it back, but we could arrange a time with me and maybe Mr. Flynn, and then definitely the 7 interns to really, we can photograph possibly, and then just really catalog and archive that so that we can go back by the end of this semester and write those storyboards for our virtual history project. So I welcome you again. You're the experts. Everyone on this committee is an expert, and we have so much we can learn from you. So just reach out to me and whatever you would like to do and however you would like to work with us. We are eager. So I have a very good sense that the students will be able, on behalf of our committee's goals and mission, to really write wonderful things that will contribute to our overall goals and the histories that we will do. So the last thing is that if there are any ideas of what we can be doing as a committee to begin to write those stories where we have been charged to do from the city resolution of last April, anything, of course, outside of what the students and I are doing, anything I can do to help with collections, anything I can do. If you have the passion to start a narrative and you need help with finding some evidence, or you need help with recording an oral history, you want me to meet you at a church or an organization, you can arrange a gathering, just please let me know. That's what I'm really here to completely serve and support you beyond what I'm doing with the students at Winston-Salem State. So that is really all that I have, but I would maybe at the very end of our meeting, if there's time, if any of you who are again our experts, if you have any information or any reflections on this 1997 study, I would be grateful to learn from you. So thank you. And I believe we can move on to our wonderful director's updates.
Thank you, Chair Villa-Gomez. Before I got started, I didn't know if anyone may have any feedback or input for you before I delve into the updates from city staff.
If she could just send the class links, the Zoom links, so that if we are able to, we can participate next week. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dark. Anyone else have any questions or requests or comments before I delve in? Okay. In terms of my updates and the city staff updates, we have been joined by some new, I think you've not met at least one of our new staff members, Eleanor and Shanta. Have you all been introduced already to the AAHI?
Yes, we were introduced last month.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, thank you. I could not remember. So we do have one new person to introduce to you all today, and that is Mr. Shane Taylor. And Shane, would you please self-introduce and give a little bit of information to our AAHI advisory board?
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. Like one said, my name's Shane Taylor. Use he, him, his pronouns. Originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. Been here in Winston-Salem for the past 4 years. I just started with the city of Winston-Salem last Monday, so I'm on my 7th day now with the city. In my role, I'm the equity inclusion coordinator, so I will be in charge of a lot of the trainings that we'll do out of the D&I area, as well as overseeing our equity core team, in addition to working with Myra with our newsletter and a few other initiatives and programs that we're kind of thinking of as a diversity, equity, and inclusion team. My previous role, I was working at Wake Forest University in their office, student engagement office, and I'm just happy to be here and glad to meet you all.
Thank you, Shane. And so happy to have you. Yes, day 7, and you've hit the ground running already. And so, yes, indeed, happy to have you and welcome. And this is a very important group that we work with, one of our key advisory boards, as you know. And so I'm sure there'll be occasion for you to overlap in some of the work that you do with the work that they are doing. So again, welcome, Shane, and I'm glad that they were able to meet you today. All right. So next, I just wanted to ask if anyone from city staff has updates that they can share. I know we have Jackie on from IS and we have Keisha on from the city attorney's office. And I was wondering if one of you would mind going ahead and sharing some exciting updates that you may have.
I can. This is Jackie Phillips Hayes with the IS department.
So we had received an order from the $10,000 grant that this group received a few months ago. And we've begun getting those items in for the order. So our scanners are in, but the laptops are not. And we knew, and I think we even said it back then, that some of the supply chain issues are affecting us getting electronics in. So we're still working to get some of those things in. But we are currently holding on to them at the request of the Human Relations Department. And once we have it all in, we'll go set it all up at the same time and work with them to get things started and set up appropriately.
Thank you so much, Jackie. So yes, that's exciting news that we've started to receive the equipment as per the Winston-Salem Foundation grant that the AAHI was awarded. So it's very exciting. And so anybody have any questions about that? And the logic behind asking the IS department to hold everything was so that, as Jackie said, we could do everything all at once. Instead of giving us piecemeal the equipment, we could do it all at one fell swoop. And for those who are able to help to record, for instance, they can have the equipment readily available and we can just do everything hopefully at once. Now, if you all would advise otherwise, then we could certainly look into doing something a little differently. But that was my logic with that, because what they'll do is they will store it over there in their department until all of the rest of it comes in, which they're anticipating any day. So that was the logic. Just wanted to explain that. So Chair Villa-Gomez and everybody else, any concerns about that? What do you think? Do you think that's a good approach?
I do. I think that's a great thing. And that way they have everything together when everything arrives. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Appreciate that. All right. And so we have our Assistant City Attorney with us, Keisha Red, and she has an update as well, I understand.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. To report back on the memorandum of understanding, we were able to get that signed document back from the good folks over in the legal and administrative department of Winston-Salem State University. So now at this point, I know we had previously kind of hashed out a rough timeline as to what would need to happen once we got it back. And so we'll just need to update that. It'll be sent to council, city manager, staff, city management staff, council. It may need to go to a committee before it goes to council, but that process can now get started because we've received the document back.
Thank you so much, Keisha. That is great news. So thank you for all of the hard work that you put into that and helping to make it happen. Greatly appreciate it. And Councilmember Scipio, you're on here, right?
She may not be. I know that she was at the press conference earlier about the fire.
I am here.
Oh, she's
Okay,
here.
she is. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sabrina.
But I'm driving, so I didn't want you to see me driving and get yourself sort of crazy because I'm moving.
No problem. No problem. I wanted to get your input in terms of the Winston-Salem State, City of Winston-Salem agreement going before council, whether your recommendation would be that it be an information item for the General Government Committee or whether it needed to go before full council. I know you have probably some thoughts.
I think that the process is for it to go to the committee, I believe. But sometimes I think it can go directly to council, but I know we can't go to council Monday because we passed that deadline. So I guess if we could go ahead and get it on the committee agenda for the next General Government Committee, that would be fine. That's going to be the second Tuesday. Can we have time to take it to committee? The next committee meeting.
Okay.
And then it will go to council the second meeting in February. So that would be just fine.
I can check with the city clerk's office to find out when the deadline is to get things on the agenda for, because I know those agendas come out sometime next week. So I'll check.
They come out next Thursday. So
I'll check with the city clerk's office to find out what their deadline is to see if we can make that happen for the committee meetings that happen. Next.
Yeah, if you would, and then I can always use a little influence so it can happen. Tell her I would greatly appreciate if they could put it on there. I think it can get on there because it's just them. I think it's good to go to the committee so that there is some discussion. I don't see it being a big problem with the council at all, or with the committee. It's a simple agreement and it just moves us forward. So, I'm very much in favor of that. And so thank you to the committee and to the staff for all of the work that had happened in 2021. But 2022 is our year of phenomenal results. And so we want to move forward with everything we can to make the community excited and engaged in giving us their history of their life experiences. There's so much going on right now and so many people who are aging, who've gotten older. So I want to encourage everybody, number one, give your personal story to our digital library because each of you have something personal that you can include and share. The stories of your families, your family members, your experiences, and the things you encountered, and some of the favorite places that you experienced growing up, and then let's go ahead and engage as many people in the community this year to collect those stories and histories, and let's be very purposeful because people continue to transition. And it's sad that we don't get their stories before they transition. There are so many wonderful people who are still in their late 80s or early 90s, and we need to really be purposeful about capturing their stories. So I like to encourage you to make 2022 a year of a lot of momentum around our collection of African American stories and our histories. And I do thank you all for the journey that we went through in 2021, a year of influenced by COVID. And now that we've had 2 years of almost going into 2 years of COVID, we know how to maneuver and get things done, even during a pandemic, so we can have wonderful things to talk about and to leave for others to know about. So I thank you all for a wonderful 2021. We're making some phenomenal strides. There's more success to come. And then I want to encourage you about 2022, just being purposeful and thoughtful and focused on getting our collections. I've made it one of my goals is to make sure I interview 1 or 2 seniors every year and every month and get them videotaped. I have my own video camera and I'm going to just go out and at least get 2 a month to include in the stories, because if we aren't purposeful about it and intentional, it won't get done. And there's so much being talked about. I know that for your FYI, Cheryl Harry and Triad Culture Arts is getting ready to do some type of documentary around desegregation of the public schools. And that again is a wonderful history that we need to be intentional about telling your story, how it impacted you, if it did, as a teacher, as a student, as an administrator. And if you know of people who she should talk to and include, who are still, who got real good memories that they can share, please get in touch with Cheryl. Give them their name so that they can be included in that research of documenting the desegregation investigation of our school system, and that before and after, what's that 2022 should be about, and us moving forward. And I thank you again very much.
And Councilmember Scipio, thank you for giving us some guidance in terms of where to go from here with moving forward with the information item for council. And Keisha, thank you for taking that on and finding out how we need to maneuver. But anyway, I just wanted to conclude my director's updates by saying also that we are still awaiting word from the grant application that we submitted a few months ago. Still haven't heard anything just yet, so hopefully we will soon. And also just to let this group know that the city did submit an application or a nomination, I should say, for the African American Heritage Initiative to receive the National League of Cities Cultural Diversity Award. So we will see. Yes, fingers crossed. But we thought that the AAHI more than met the minimum qualifications and the baseline criteria to be recognized by the National League of Cities for cultural diversity and as an example for others for what they can do. And so we'll see. I mean, we haven't heard back yet. You know, we just submitted the application. Brittany and Jamie worked on that, and we submitted it, what was it, a week or two ago, ladies? Yeah, so it was very recent, but we will keep you all apprised. And so Chair Villa-Gomez, that concludes my director's update / city staff updates.
Thank you. Wow, that's just incredible. That's so exciting. We will keep our fingers crossed. I wanted to thank Councilperson Scipio for joining us and for continuing to inspire us. And I wanted to just jump off of what she had said. It was exactly what I said to my class today. And of course, she's taught me much of this. I learn something every time she speaks to us. But I've told my students, because some of them were born here and their parents and their grandparents were born here. And so I reminded them that that they know these histories, and that especially our elders, we want to be able to preserve the treasured stories that they can tell us about their everyday lives. I noted to the students this morning that the 1997 study, it's wonderful, but it does highlight the big people, you know, the talented tenths, so to speak. And we want to make sure we're celebrating everybody, because most of us come from the everyday people, and those people are the backbone of our heritage. And so I had to remind the students, it's great when somebody was a farmer or a brick maker or a maid. You know, we don't want to leave out the people who really make up our community. But I would just be so delighted if each of you could come into one of the classes, because I can record your history, and then working with the interns, we can transcribe your history and work on it the way that you would want to submit it for our digital collection. And so that is something that would be so manageable. And, you know, if you want to meet with me on Zoom before the class and kind of give me the history, just the two of us, so that you can put it out there the way you want, we can do that. And edit the transcript if you want the transcript made. So, and if you have somebody that would want to come in, that you would want to invite into one of our classes, that would just be a very manageable way. But again, if you want us to come out, and I can record as well, I would be so happy to come out to any meeting if you need that support. So, so please invite us, and please come to my class. because you will be the great teachers to the students, and we want to connect the generations. We need to connect the young people with their elders. So that really is all that I have to share, but are there any questions or comments before we adjourn?
Oh, Chair Villagomez, we did have 2 more items on the agenda. We
Oh,
have.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I lost my agenda.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. We had item 7, which was Winston-Salem Foundation Redlining Project, updates and feedback. And I didn't know if you may have information, or I know Ms. Annette Wilson has been involved, and of course, Ms. Linda Dark, if anyone may have any updates with respect to the project.
I have not talked to Charlie Gardner, but I did speak with Ms. Shamika Stark, who is one of the co-workers at the foundation. And they said that there are no plans right now to do more guided tours simply because of the surge. It is still up. The exhibit is still up. I don't remember the exact date that it will be coming down, but there is a possibility after it comes down, Designing the We, who are the producers of it, creators of it, they may allow certain sections to be online. So I think that is something that may be coming up in the future.
I actually also went to the Winston-Salem Redline Foundation. Well, so it's the redlining page, but it's through the Winston-Salem Foundation because I shared that with my students. And I believe they have Ms. Wilson's interview that they did that evening, the first day of the opening. And they might even have Linda's, I think Linda also gave an interview. So I saw at least 2 interviews from our people. And so hopefully that page will stay up, but that is there. And I can actually send the link to the committee if you want to follow that and see what's up there now.
And Chair Villagomez, I don't know if you have your agenda handy, but the next item pertained to the timetable and calendars.
Yes,
And
I finally got back to the agenda.
Okay.
But our date would be, I believe, March the 2nd. So our March meeting will be Wednesday, March 2nd. We do have some time left. If anybody would like to share a quick memory of living and growing up here.
Before we do that, can I just add a piece of information I just received?
Oh, yes, please.
I was able to get an email to our city clerk, and the deadline for submission for the February the 21st meeting is today at 5 p.m. So I don't know if we would be able to get the CARF and all of the items ready to get them submitted. I don't know. I'll defer to Councilmember Scipio on that. But in the event that we are not, we would need to have them submitted by March the 9th in order to make it to the March council agenda and committee agenda. So I just wanted to provide that update.
Thank you for that update.
And Chair Villagomez, as a tie-in, I think it would be appropriate for the AAHI maybe to do a formal vote saying that they want to go ahead and move this forward as an information item to either the General Government Committee or the City Council as a whole.
Wonderful. And we can do that right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so would someone please move for us to approve this memorandum of understanding so it can move through the approval chain in our city government?
I move that we approve the MOU.
Thank you, Ms.
A
Jocelyn.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Ms. Carlin, could you take the vote, please?
I am. Chair Villagomez,
Yes, approve.
Vice Chair Penn,
Yes.
Ms. Dark,
Approve.
Mr. Gerard, Mr. Fulton,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Approve.
Ms. Williams,
I approve.
and Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chair Villagomez, you may want to ask if there are any opposed, just to make sure, and then you could decide whether or not the motion passed.
Is there any question or opposition? So this is passed. Thank you. The motion has passed. If no one would like to share any quick memories, I would also just like to bring up that we are in Black History Month. And if anyone has an idea of something we could do to reach out to the wider community or to any particular sector of our community, please let me know. Again, I'm here to support you, and we really want to keep these connections with our community members. And so as we move through this month, this is a great time. And so I would just encourage you to think about how we could use this special month to really connect with our community and think about how we can use those opportunities to really meet our mission.
This is not about local history, but I did receive an email recently about, I think it's a documentary on Emmett Till and his murder, torture and murder. If anyone is interested, I can forward that to Chairperson Villagomez. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the dates and times, but this is through the Emmett Till Interpretive Center, I believe in either Georgia or Mississippi. But it's going to be a special presentation.
Thank you for that information.
And Chair Villagomez, for the Human Relations, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department, we do host an annual program for Black History Month, and it is called the Black History Month Showcase of Song. The purpose of the program is to show the link between the African diaspora and today's current present day African-American culture. But that is done through song, through music of different types, poetry, and so forth. But that is something that we would normally do in person. We used to have it regularly at Old Salem, and then we started having it at Carver pre-pandemic. But it is a really interesting way to be able to connect those dots with that, to show the link between the African drumming and rhythms and a lot of the chanting and even the religious types of songs and hymnals as they tie in with what a lot of people would consider R&B music today, or even contemporary gospel music of today. But it's just to kind of tell the story of how music was instrumental in showing and illustrating the plight that African Americans had to go through in the United States. And so that is something, again, that we do every year. And so we're planning to make that a virtual event again this year due to the surge. and we will be airing it on WSTV 13. If Mr. Elliott were here today, I'm sure he would have mentioned it, but he is tied up with the fire over on Cherry Street. But anyway, that is something that we do on an annual basis. Also, we have, and Jamie, I don't know if you can show them the 10 Black History Month facts, the local Black facts that we actually show every year on the city's website through our department. And we've also shared it this year, I do believe, on the city's Facebook page. But they're just some key Black history facts that a lot of people may know, but a lot of people, particularly younger people, may not know. For instance, in talking about, well, you're getting ready to see it now. This is what it looks like. Jamie, can you make it a little bigger? There you go. And so about the Safe Bus Company and how that was the precursor to WISTA and Happy Hill Gardens and Miss Annie Brown Kennedy and her contributions and so on, Winston-Salem State. So if you scroll down, you'll see some of the key historical facts that we just chose to highlight. Can you scroll on down, Jamie, for people to know about Winston-Salem? And of course, you know, we included the Fair Housing Ordinance because particularly as we know now, it ties in so much with redlining. And that is something that people are currently discussing now in the community. So just wanted to share that with you. We make that information available again on the city's website as well as on social media. And last but not least, everyone's had a chance to look at the AAHI newsletter because that is something that we will be sharing too. It's not necessarily because of Black History Month, but again, it's just something that we think would be a great complement to all of the other information that we're attempting to share.
Madam Director, do you have hard copies of the 10 facts?
We can certainly make hard copies for you if you would like hard copies.
Would like hard copies, please?
Okay. Okay.
I'll get with you offline.
Okay, sounds good. If anybody would like hard copies, that's fine. Normally that is what we do, Ms. Johnson, but because of the surge, you know, we were trying to digitize as much as possible, but yes, we can make those available.
And if you can send
or a soft
link,
copy.
we've got the diversity weekend with trying to get some of our prospective residents and fellows to come to us next weekend. So if you can send the link, we can certainly share the link with them, but I still need some hard copies.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, were you saying something?
Oh, I was just going to ask for the soft copy of it, and then I could share it with others.
Okay, so you'd like.
I see we have it here on the Facebook page. So.
Oh, good.
Is that the 10 facts? What they sending? They sent here. Here's the post on Facebook.
Yes, Jamie.
Okay, that's
document,
fine.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And the newsletter is wonderful. So I just want to encourage everyone to read the winter newsletter. And thank you for all of this information. I'll make sure that I share all these links with my students. And for the celebration on the 19th, I think it's a wonderful way for us to share our history through the arts. And so I will try to assign that to my students, and I will join virtually, of course. I shared with them today that even the oral history, the griot traditions, which are part of the rich way that African Americans share stories, it's so important. And so I'm telling them that as they help to gather these stories and put them into wonderful storyboards so we can put them online eventually virtually, that this is just joining in this rich heritage. And so, of course, and me coming from a dance background, that was my first career. I always loved the music and the dance. So that's such an exciting thing to learn. And I'm ashamed that I didn't know that has been a tradition in our city. So thank you so much. And I will do my best to connect at least my students to all of these to that event and to all of this information. So thank you, Ms. Wanda.
You're welcome, Chair Villa-Gomez. And I think Jamie is going to share the newsletter for those who may not have seen it already. I think she's going to share it on the screen in a few moments, but it is up on the city's website. Also, of course, the AAHI website. So if you have an opportunity or if you're interested in sharing that as well, feel free to do so. If you'd like to, share that link, or we can give you hard copies of that too. And so again, Jamie, can you kind of zoom in on it a little bit more? Thank you. And so Chair Villa-Gomez and everyone, you can see that, of course, we do have the articles about the Undesign the Red Line and the grant, and the fact that we had a guest, Mr. Devin Paris from Canada, what we were doing and joined a meeting. So, it's just to let the community know what you all are doing, and the work is indeed continuing. And of course, we have you all listed as members of the AAHI Advisory Board. So again, if you'd like a hard copy or hard copies of this, let us know. But otherwise, the link is also available and it's already out there.
Thank you.
Chairman Valinsky, I had a thought I wanted to share, or a reflection I wanted to share if we still have time.
Oh, yes, please.
When someone mentioned, I think when Councilwoman Scipio mentioned desegregation, I was just reflecting upon my high school experience. I was in the last class, you've heard me share this before, they graduated from Atkins in 1971. That was when we graduated, we did not know we were going to be the last class, but that year, Atkins was still a completely segregated student population, but the faculty was integrated. So that year, as a senior, I was eligible to take an advanced placement class. However, the advanced placement classes were not offered at Atkins. They were only offered at Reynolds. There were about 7 of us who placed in the classes, but again, the problem was, how are we going to get to Reynolds in the morning for a class and then get back to our campus? There was no transportation provided. But the richness or the beauty of that situation was that we as students, along with our parents, worked it out. But basically the students worked it out. One of our classmates, and back then very few kids had cars, but one of our classmates who was not in the class, but because we really supported each other, he loaned us his car to, and one of the other gentlemen, we were young men at the time, drove. And so we would meet at Atkins in the morning. A guy who was not in one of the classes, but because he could get clearance to have his study that morning, used to drive us. And so really, without the support of fellow students and us working together, we used to all put in, I think, 20 cents a week for gas, to pay for the gas to go from Atkins to Reynolds, and then get back to Atkins for our really our 3rd period class. So that was truly a team community effort because of the pride we had for each other. We wanted each other to succeed. And so I just wanted to share that.
Annette or Beverly or Fulton, anybody know where Catherine Scott is now? Because the lawsuit is actually named for her because they were the first ones to sign it.
She's still here. I talked to Catherine. Her sister passed, I think, in December. So I talked to her in December. So I do have her number.
She would be a good person to interview because I think her family was also heavily involved in helping to get the lawsuit started against the school board.
I can share that. Let me call her and make sure it's okay to share her number, because she tends to be kind of a private person at times. But I'll be glad to contact her.
And And Chair, she might be one of those persons that you may want your class to have, if she's willing to have some conversations with, because her name certainly is noted for being on the suit.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing that. And I think I'll definitely share this with my students, because they don't understand what you all went through. They assume that sometimes that things have been easy, and obviously this was part of the terrible inequality. And so African Americans were resilient, and they were, as Ms. Dark said, like a village. But the whole just how sad it is and how oppressive it was that you had to make those efforts, right? And here we are still striving for equity, and we still know that these transportation issues are inhibiting to people of color often, and they can't get to those places where the best educational resources are often. And so I would want my students to learn more about how courageous you were, and this whole aspect of being really an engaged citizen and neighbor, and that support is so important. So thanks so much for sharing that.
It's also a testament to the instructors and the teachers that we had for, and the scales will tell you a little learning is a dangerous thing. And we went through that whole Shakespeare piece through all of our folks. So when we came out of school, you either knew you were doing an academic piece, you were doing military, you were doing vocational. It wasn't that no child was left behind. Was not the slogan of the day at the time. That's what was instilled within them and the leadership of the school to make happen.
Don't forget I'd add scales too.
Well,
the chemistry
I mean,
teacher.
it's the 4 skills, and so it's Curtis, we can go back and do history pieces. Yes, it was all of those. It's Mary Jane Williams, who's was the chemistry instructor. So it's all of the above. It's Mr. Hartsfield and all those folk who were over in the Trade Center.
And that while you were talking, I think it would be a great idea to get those students together who did attend the advanced classes at Reynolds. I was one of them. I know someone who lives in New Jersey. She was even before me with Togo West. Mm-hmm. So that was way before your time. Okay. But it would be interesting to get all those students together in one location at the same time and do that documentary, because I know each one of us had different experiences. Mm-hmm. Sandra had a total different experience from the one I had, and I'm sure it was different from yours. So that would be a nice, that would be a nice project.
Yes,
okay.
This is Scipio. I was in the advanced placement history class from Anderson, along with Shirley Lennon, and Faye Hauser was in math or science. Mm-hmm. And we have, we were like the third group that went into the gifted program at Diggs. I went in at 5th grade, and there were others that started in the 3rd grade. So there was something very rich about that matriculation through that system. And then the advanced placement classes at Reynolds that we all had to get ourselves to Reynolds for those classes. And then I think your story of borrowing a student's car was very interesting, because I know at Anderson, we carpooled because somebody had a car or had access to a family car. So that was really, that's a very interesting dynamic of what happened in those early days of those advanced placement classes. And we weren't really welcomed by the instructors. It was, for us,
we were not.
It was very difficult. We were not welcomed by the instructors or the students. And I won't talk anymore, because I have some stories of when our history class did a tour a trip over spring break to New York City. And it was interesting how children's behavior, our classmates' behaviors changed once we crossed the Mason-Dixie line. And then what happened on the road back when we got back in North Carolina. It was very interesting how their attitudes, but that's another story. But thank you for that idea of a documentary, Joyce, and wonderful suggestion.
So do we need to call Frank Elliott to ask him how we could put this together?
I think you could. I think Wanda could ask him because I don't know how it could be charged, but I think we can work on that if we get the people together.
Okay.
It's not a problem as long as we know who we're going to be talking to, and you have to have a facilitator, or you can get people to come in one-on-one. I did a video. I'm working on a video for Miss Minnie Harris, and I interviewed people individually, but it would be to get the richness of the classes, you really have to have that group of people who came. But I think you might have a generation, I'm going to say a period influence, because like my class was in 1967, because you only went your senior year.
Right.
And that class was 1971. And when was yours, Linda?
Linda, you're on mute. '65.
Okay. So there, be interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical problems.
Okay.
It probably was 65 or 66. I can't remember. No, that would have been 64. The Togo West era. Probably 67, 68.
I was 67.
And I know someone from the class of 64.
64.
Yeah.
64. Yeah.
Wonder if we could reach out and get them together, because I think it would be interesting for us to discuss our different experiences.
Yeah.
I know one of my classmates has already passed that was among our group. I think there were 5 of us.
Mm-hmm. One question that I would have, this is such precious information and so interesting to me. I know from some of my elders at Winston-Salem State who were the first people to cross the color line into universities, particularly like graduate programs. They've told me that they were the best person in their class, but they would still be getting 4 grades, even though their test scores, were 100 over and over and over. And they had professors who told them straight out that because they were Black, they were giving them, they had no qualms to say, because you're Black, I'm not going to give you a good grade. Did you experience that when you moved into these AP classes?
Yes.
So you had people be that vocal.
Well, I'll tell you the reason that I don't remember a lot is because I have to go on what other people say, like Annette and some other friends with me, because I was the only Black person in a chemistry class, advanced chemistry. I was the only female.
Yeah.
So there were a bunch of white males only in my class, and I was very intimidated. And to be perfectly honest with you, I kind of blocked it out. So I don't remember a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the teacher was so unfair that I was afraid to bring my report card home and show it to my mom, and I didn't. So I just told her what my grade was. And then my mom made an appointment with the teacher, and when we got there, she had changed the grade. But the original grade was still on file at the school, which let my mom know I was telling the truth.
Yep. And
so that was my experience.
My situation, we found out that the history professor was having special discussion sessions at his house once a week with the kids in the advanced placement history class, but the Black kids had not been invited.
My Lord.
We didn't find that out until the second semester. And then we started going, then we realized why we weren't passing the test, because all the tests was on the information that was given at those off-site meetings. So yeah. Well, anyway, this is interesting. I've got to go to another Zoom meeting, guys. Y'all opening up the keg of worms today. But you see how important it is that we document our life experiences, because people don't know that the atrocities happen to us, not just our parents and our grandparents and all of the slaves. It happened during our time. And that's what we have to make people aware of, that it's still going on, because we don't complain and fuss. And but thank you so much for that discussion.
Thank you, everyone. I just, I applaud you for your courage and your resilience and your, your desire to speak that truth, because truth is power, and we really need to let our young people know. I mean, you were really at the forefront of that war, and you've survived and you've gone on. And when we think about how African-American educators, I mean, so many of the things that I continue to learn about objective assessment and about equitable approaches for creating, very safe environments and teaching. Really, it's been African-American educators at the forefront nationally that have created those standards. And so something wonderful has grown out of that fight and all of that oppression. Of course, we still have a long way to go, but I could cry just hearing what you have shared. So thank you so very much. Well, I believe that we probably have gone over, but that we've gone over for a wonderful reason. Is there any other comment or issue that we could discuss before we call for adjournment? Well, please take good care. I will be keeping our people, everybody in our city and our community in my thoughts and prayers. And I just pray that you stay safe and all of your family is safe. Take good care. Could we have someone call for the adjournment?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Wow.